Good evening. I'm Kadarius Johnson, or KJ Kosa Johnson, whatever you want to call me. Either way, I am going to talk about the rise and fall of the last Ming Dynasty, one of the greatest dynasties in China. Without further ado, let's begin. So, from the humble beginnings of how this dynasty was created, uh, they were started as a very, very, very poor sanction band of misfits that led to conquer over the Mongol Yuan dynasty from its decline from flourishment. Since the death of Genghis Khan, realistically, the Mongols haven't really been the same. They've been on deterioration, and during this whole start of decline, Zhu Yuanzhang, who is the founder of the Ming Dynasty, uh, lived a really rough childhood. He was an orphan at a very young age. He was then raised more of his youthful and teenage adult life into the Buddhist temple, who picked him up. And in the midst of that, he understood the Buddhist temple's teachings and really embraced it within himself to uh, come about and make a uh, greater country, as you will, with this so-called mandate of heaven that he believed in because of his religion. Um, this is what rose to him trying to create his own empire. And how he did it was he basically got in touch with the right people. One of those people being a rich fortune teller named Guio, Zhu Guio, who basically helped him and aided him with enough people to create a small type of militia to basically one on one and hand on hand bring about this empire to be. Uh, this is what rose the rebellion of the peasants, uh, with the leader of Zhu Yingzheng, who will be later named as Taizu in his emperor reign. And they began on the campaign to reclaim China. And this campaign brought a lot of battles, but a lot of needed and won battles to reclaim all of the Chinese territory from the Mongols. They started this campaign by trying to seize control of the western borderlands of China and then worked its way north to capture the first capital city of Nanjing. After they captured that city, they went and made their way further south to capture the city of Daidu, which was later named Beijing. And this is what basically brought about the rise of this new empire. So Taizu um, wanted to reclaim all this territory and build about a new empire based off of his idealistic views of how things should be ran. And his views came from a place of his religion, which he believed in Buddhism, teachings of Confucianism, and a mix of Taoism as well. And he had this entire mandate come about to bring about a change within his people because he was brought up as a peasant and he feels like nobody should really live like peasants. You know, they should be able to work and thrive in a productive society. So when he finished his reigning campaign and conquered every territory he could to bring about this necessary change in the state of China, he then wanted to rebuild the government from the ground up as his new leader and emperor. He created a uh, militia-based government, um, which basically he was the known emperor. You know, he was the grand leader of them all, and he had appointed high officials in the military basically be at his aid. So this was a militia-based ran empire, but with that, he also, for the common people, created equal job opportunities that brought about a lot of large scale public projects to help rebuild China from the sieges that he basically created, trying to lead the Mongols out. And also, he created a very intuitive sense system of as a also created a system of education that was later used to uh, teach his people how to read, how to write, and the religious teachings of Buddhism, and created this mandate of heaven that he foresaw to be the truth. Now, in his entire life, he has had 26 children before he died in 1398. Um, with this 26 children, he had seven of these children die. Yeah, seven. Of these seven children dead, 19 of them, of the 19, six were still very young children, which six of them were young children, and six of them were non factors in the militia and in the military of bringing about the Ming Empire. So, seven of his sons, which he had as um, some of his basically generals and commanders, were basically his next line heirs. And of that, the top next line heir, which was supposedly appointed by Taizu, was Zhu Wen or Jian Wen. He was appointed to be the next heir due to unexplained um, the unexplained death of Zhu Biao, who was actually the eldest son to take the throne. When this came about, Jian Wen began to carry out and protect what you would say Taizu's number one headspace of government came to be. Uh, Family brothers had who opposed their father's rulings. Jian Wen wanted to eradicate them and apprehended most of them, except for one, and that was Zhu Di. Zhu Di was actually the second eldest son, but the rightful place and heir for the throne. And in his entire run of, and for, I'm sorry, entire run of Jian Wen's um, campaign, he tried to capture Zhu Di, but he was unsuccessful. Zhu Di then brought a rebellion and started a declaration of war against Jiang Wen, in which Zhu Di actually won. He completely seized the capital of Beijing and basically burnt down the entire palace with Ji Wen in the palace at the time and basically burned him to death too. And that brought the upheaval of Zhu Di's um, reign, and that's what started the newer era or the golden age of the Ming Dynasty's reign. And with this, he wanted to implore his dad's teachings, and he wanted to carry out his mandate of heaven and his mandate of bringing about this government in his idealistic views, and actually said to his common people that he was the rightful heir and not John Wayne. With that being said, he brought about the divisions of the vast Ming military. He divided them out to guard the Great Wall of China, which was being created and actually finished at the time Zhu Di became the emperor. He devised part of the military to cover that sector, part to protect and hold the capital of Nanjing and Beijing. And he also wanted the southern uh, military to take over that part of China as well. With this, he also incorporated a lot of trade and commerce between other different countries and implored uh, and explored, I should say, explored all around the world, looking for more people to trade with and seeing what more countries was about. And didn't really do much with more of the other countries, just kind of kept uh, most of the trade between the Europe countries to bring about that golden era. And they were really prospering after this. Everybody was going to school, everybody was working. You had farmers growing crops, able to trade, everything like that. So after that, about 200 years passed, roughly 150, and this is when they started to reach a decline in their phase. And this started with the siege of the Wanali Emperor in Korea, who was holding back the siege of Japan. And at the extent of them holding back Japan from entering and trying to take over, they were successful at the extent of almost half of their military. And with those officials, most of the military officials did not agree with the way that they handled the siege of Korea. So you started having a lot of dissension between them. You know, a lot of people started rebelling and really starting like to have a sense of distrust throughout the entire kingdom. And this military dissension caused a rebellion of the southern side of China that forced the wall to open in China, letting all the Manchurians in from the north come and try to lay siege to China. And with that, they had not a very sound military at this time. A lot of people were also getting sick and dying from disease brought about through climate change and natural disasters like earthquakes and big monsoons that just laid a lot of rain on the entire country that basically got a lot of people sick and died. And with that, their economic recession began because the crops started going bad. They um, they saw a lot of deterioration with their commerce and everything. And because of this, most of their countries started pulling back that was originally trading with them because they had nothing really to trade after everything's being destroyed by all these natural disasters and climate change and everything. So um, that's what led to their economic downfall, and all of this leading to the eventual end and fall of the Ming Dynasty. So the key points to take here is the defeat of the Yuan Mongol dynasty, the coalition of Taizu's peasant rebellion, the early dissension between the families and their true heir to the throne, which was a big deal at the beginning, but was handled pretty well. Uh, the prosperity and clarity through regained sound structure throughout the empire for many years, the education and jobs and public projects for all the common people, the outside countries' interference with trade and how they basically pulled out when they saw everything was to absolute going to the absolute toilet. So the military deterioration between different officials and the dissension um, of that and everything in between, and the economic, uh, basically depression leading from a recession to a depression because of the fact that they couldn't trade and they couldn't produce any crops and they could not um, keep anything or everything working with everything that's been going on with the military and the disease and natural disasters. And this is what led to the absolute fall of the Ming dynasty. And when they fell, the Mongols basically came in during all this chaos and uh, eradicated all of them and took back over control of China in the midst of their military being completely downsized and everybody getting sick and dying. And that's all I can say about the rise, prosperity, and the fall of the Ming Dynasty. Well, that's the end of my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you so much for listening, tuning in.